Guys, today modern AI is quite advanced, except two problems. It is censored and it takes your information. Well, it's hard to find a tech company that don't, but let me introduce you to one. Shout out to my sponsor, Venice AI, which allows you to protect your information and avoid censorship. Now ask yourself, why should a team of programmers at these leading AI apps be the ones to decide what is okay for you to ask and think? Also, would you be comfortable if the presidential administration could govern what AI tells you? Man, I know I wouldn't. But also, while you think about that, did you know that? Let me tell you this, it's gonna be crazy, but ChatGPT has a former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now, guys. And shout out to that man, Edward Snowden. He called this a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. And we all know how Alexa is. Alexa listens to us and recommends products based on our conversations. I mean, talk about a violation of privacy. But guys, these are just a few reasons I decided to team up with Venice AI and get you a better options or solutions to your AI needs. Now, guys, you can go ahead and check these guys out with my promo code. So shout out to Venice AI. Now, if you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, Venice AI S.E.T, and use the code S.E.T. Man, so shout out, guys. So make sure you guys use the code. Put it one more time for you guys right there. Once again, guys, you guys want to go ahead and have unleashed AI, uncensored AI, go ahead and tap in with my guys at Venice AI, guys. Hey, this is S.E.T and appreciate the support. And shout out to the sponsor. And all right, man, let's get right into it. Yo, this is S.E.T with S.E.T Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you guys. All right, man. First, we'll get into Trump taking some questions. Then we're going to get into the Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz debate. And then we're going to go a little bit, take a nice little deep dive into the Iran and Israel conflict. All right, guys, let's go.
Most of you agree. So do you have any questions, please?
Do you know the latest on the evacuations out of Israel, Mr. President? Have you been updated on that?
No, we're having a meeting in an hour. We have a meeting downstairs in 1 hour. Yeah.
Mr. President, on Iran, if regime change does happen there, if the regime falls, do you have a plan for what you think would happen?
I have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens. Got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, okay. But it's a shame it could have been done the easy way.
Do you think the regime there could fall?
Sure, anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
Of that, sure, that could happen. Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing on who exactly was running the White House under Joe Biden. Who do you think that was?
I think the auto pen ran the White House. You know, we have an auto pen president before me. I think it's one of the greatest scandals in the history of this country.
I mean, the mysterious auto pen. I mean, shout out to Ted Cruz, because they're finally getting down to that congressional hearing where, you know, Congress is asking these guys questions and are lining up, you know, Biden's signature and stuff. And they're going like, yeah, what's going on here, guys? Like, what's going on? How come Biden's signature is degraded over time?
One of the biggest scandals. He wasn't making a decision. He was never for open borders where people came in from all over the world, from prisons and gangs and drug dealers and all of that, the mentally insane. He was never for that. He was never for open borders, and he was never for, if you think, he was never for transgender for everybody, or men playing in women's sports.
I mean, back in the day, he wasn't even for gay marriage. So, you know, going straight to transgenderism, it is quite surprising.
He was never for that. Have you ever had women? Could a woman make your team, fellas? You think? No, you're being nice. What do you think? Think a woman could make the team? General managers, what do you think?
Difficult.
You don't say it. Close.
We have a very good women's team, though.
You do have, right? But they should be playing with women, huh? You know, one of those things. One of those things. See,
Hey, nah, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, you ain't about to get me caught up. Like, keep us out of it.
they're very diplomatic.
As you're making your decision on Iran, obviously there's been a change from when you were pursuing a diplomatic negotiation.
Yeah.
Now you seem very open to the idea of potentially taking U.S. action. Obviously, you're not going to tell us that. Can you walk us through what contributed to that change, how you got to where you are in making your decision now?
Well, I think it started the first night. I mean, you know, the first night was devastating. And it really knocked the one side off, as you know. It was a devastating evening, day. And it's pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting.
And the big surprise by, I guess, Iran was what? 400 ballistic, and they're late. They're actually late. But yeah, the surprise by Iran was like 400 ballistic missiles and 100 drones that Israel is currently taking care of.
A war room in a little while.
What already did.
Situation room, as some people call it. So we're going to meet. We're going to see. We're in the midst of it. It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death. So much death and destruction. But death primarily is what I hate to see.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, you know, because things change. I mean, especially with war. Things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for. You know? You look right up there, I don't know, see the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if you know, the Civil War always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people. So a lot of, it's very sad to see. It's very sad to see what's happening. But with that being said,
yeah, it's very sad to see that Israel completely thrown diplomacy out the window, and now we're over here slightly backing it. Not with boots on the ground, but I guess with military equipment.
I would say right now, Israel, from the standpoint of winning a war, is doing pretty well. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in your meeting today with the Chief of Staff of the Pakistani Army, did you talk about Iran? Did that come up? Is there anything you can share from that meeting?
Well, they know Iran very well, better than most. And they're not happy about anything. It's not that they're bad with Israel. They know them both, actually, but they probably, maybe they know Iran better. But they see what's going on, and he agreed with me. The reason I had him here, I wanted to thank him for not going into the war, just, you know, ending the war. And I want to thank, as you know.
Now, guys, what's so scary about this war to me is that it's only been one-sided reporting. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? So you actually do got to go on places like X and Telegram to even find any footage of even Israel taking any type of damage, because all the reporting is the damage that's been taken in Tehran, which is all verifiable true. Like, trust me, it's all true. But there's very few things that they wanted to show you about what's going down in Israel. So I do believe this was actually one of the strikes that actually hit Israel early today. But let's go ahead and look at it right here.
Wow, vai bater esse cu.
Crazy part about this, I do believe an Israeli hospital was also toppled today. So, you know, hearts out there to Israel. You know, like I said, I don't want civilians dying. But right now, the way it's getting, yeah, it does sound like Iran is not really caring what they hit at this point. They're just pretty much throwing 100 darts at a very small board.
Prime Minister Modi just left, just a little while ago, just left. And we're working a trade deal with India. We're working a trade deal with Pakistan. And they were both here. But I was with Modi a few weeks ago. He was here, actually. But now we speak to him. And I'm so happy. There was a deal that two smart people, plus, you know, they have people on their staff too, but two very smart people decided not to keep going with that war. That could have been a nuclear war. Those are two nuclear powers, big ones, big nuclear powers. And they decided that. So I was honored to meet him today.
And if I can speak, sir, and for anyone who may want to answer, how has the travel bans from certain countries affected fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a consideration
Johnny,
at all?
go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup, everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have one more year to work, and the learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic, I say this to all the Americans, because it's the first ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so
But
I don't know. I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what the travel ban is. Friends, they heard about this meeting. They said, can you give me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to
Well,
me.
we can speak
Maybe
about it.
John will give them to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, two questions, if I could. One about Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, but that's like I said, it's ambiguous language. Like, what does that mean? We all agree that Iran does not need to have a nuclear bomb. But I mean, that doesn't also mean that Iran can't have, a nuclear program to where they can make nuclear energy. And that was pretty much it. So, and here's the thing, we have no proof that he was making a bomb or that they have a bomb. All we got proof is that they got a nuclear facility and they're producing nuclear energy. That's for sure we know. So where this whole, oh, well, I'm trying to prevent them from having a bomb. I mean, I hope so. And I hope you're not getting fed false intelligence, because Tulsi Gabbard said no. So I don't know who's in Trump's ear, but they're saying yes. So we have two conflicting stories within the same cabinet.
And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, It's a lot of water over the dam. But, it's very, I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it. It's very simple.
Oh, guys, let's make sure we double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen.
As far as I'm concerned, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
And then domestically, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley came out this week as the lead sponsor of a bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. It stands out because he's a Republican. There's still 20 states that have it at $7.25. Do you support the legislation or the idea?
Well, I haven't seen it. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a very good friend of mine.
I know we'd have to talk to small businesses first and see if they can even afford that. And if small business can't afford that, and that would crush them, or that would drive up unemployment because they're going to hire less, then, you might want to think about those things before you just start trying to raise the minimum wage. Think about the small businesses, right? Because, I mean, when we talk about raising minimum wage, you guys usually think you're targeting the big corporations, but you're not.
That's interesting that Josh did that. I'm going to have to think about that one. Some people agree with it, some people don't. Some people say it really turns away business, restaurants close, and a lot of things happen. Other people agree. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a good guy.
Mr. President, for the Iran, the possibility of an Iran deal, is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. We have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, nobody.
Yeah, and some misinformation tried to go around saying that Iran was able to shoot down one of our planes, but that was false. I know, it was definitely false. I mean, bro, we really do got some crazy military tech. Strongest military in the world for a reason, and trust me, without our backing, Israel wouldn't have a chance. Shoot, without the Iron Dome we built for them, they would be done for.
Nobody's able to see him stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far. Nobody.
But as all things, though, I mean, you only have a certain time limit when you're just getting bombarded by missiles. And what you're hearing, Well, what you're going to hear from me right now is that it seems like the Iron Dome is kind of lacking in defense right now. Let me show you what I've right now. This is what's going on in Israel. 400 ballistic missiles and 100 drones. And this is what we're getting. All in Israel. So yeah, like I said, pray for the civilians and all that good stuff. We don't like violence out here. We want to end this war. Let's remember that. All right, back to Trump.
Close, and certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry, so we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
Mr. President, you talked earlier today about having daily conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
How have those conversations weighed on you in terms of getting more involved? He's been lobbying for the U.S. to get more involved. Has that had an impact in kind of your evolution, sir?
Look, we talk, and I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having just an agreement, a strong agreement, verifiable agreement. But it was such a shame. They were so close. Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess. They do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement. But it's very late.
Is it enough of a statement to hold off getting?
I think Trump is trying to see how long this conflict is going to go, see if Israel can grind them down a little bit. And that's going to make them capitulate a little bit more to our demands. That's what I believe is going on. God forbid, and that we've been being fed false information, and so is Trump, and Iran's the one kind of, serving Israel that ass whooping. But like I said, for what we've been hearing, Israel's pretty much giving that ass whooping to Iran, but Iran has struck Israel in some places. So like I said, they're going tit for tat, and right now it's looking like an even match.
We're going to see what happens. Look, we're going to see what happens. Ending it as soon as you can would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your eyes.
They asked if they could come, and we'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. They're in Iran. And
how the hell you gonna get out, bro? As soon as we try to catch that man leaving, we're gonna try to blow his ass out the sky. That would be a trap. And Trump has already bragged, saying that we can hit this man wherever he is. They're saying he's in our Iranian suburb somewhere, hiding in a bunker. And shoot, him and all the Israeli citizens as well. Trust me, Israel citizens are in a bunker. Iranian citizens have fled the Tehran, and the Ayatollah leader is in a bunker as well. Their supreme leader.
I want to come so badly, but he can't get out because his bombs dropping all over the place.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon.
You're right, but bro, what the heck does that mean? We didn't have no proof. That's why we're looking at you hella confused, because we're feeling like you're kind of getting tricked or led into this. Well, honestly, really tricked into this war, because Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. Well, duh, but we haven't been able to prove it. That's the problem. And then there'll be neocons that are going to tell you, well, what, do you want to wait till they have one? I'm going to be real with you, kind of. Yeah. So at least we know, under the nuclear proliferation. So they're not supposed to have one. They've been abiding by that. They've had 2 independent studies done on them that says they don't got it. Well, not studies, but investigations done on them that said they don't got it. And then all of a sudden, what? Who in Trump's cabinet is saying this? Because Tulsi ain't saying it. And that's the main person that should be saying it for us to believe it. But she's not. So who is saying this? And why is Trump believing it?
Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong. And I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. He's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if Ted, I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you
for not to have a nuclear bomber or just to have nuclear energy? It's like, we're really about to try to take them out over nuclear energy. We're going to look real stupid, Trump. I'm not even going to lie to you. We're going to look real stupid trying to do that. And especially since Israel actually have a bomb and they're not supposed to. So we're going to look real stupid going in there and we don't find no damn bomb. I hope at that point, I'm pretty sure they'll just make it up. But I mean, then years later, we'll find out that there were no weapons of mass destruction again. So, yeah, I mean, bro, if you guys can't provide us proof outside of Trump that there's a nuclear bomb, if they're trying to make a nuclear bomb, then I just can't believe these guys. I can't even believe Trump at this point, because even when Tulsi Gabbard comes out and say it, I think it was the international, it was some committee that goes out there and investigates these countries for nuclear proliferation. And they investigated Iran. It came back that Iran's now it doesn't have a bomb, or they're not even trying to go towards a bomb. But yet, we still believe that they do. And that's what they fearmonger on.
You okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because the entire world will blow up. Not gonna
appreciate that. It was the IAEA. Appreciate that.
let that happen.
Mr. President, you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day at the G7.
No,
it sounded like.
he's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not.
And shout out to my man Hellbait. He said we should look at Israel like we do Dems right now. I know, right? And I do see some comments in the chat going like, well, they don't have. I know. I never said that they had a bomb. I said there's been 2 investigations done saying that they don't have one. And like, bro, and one investigation being from us. And you're telling me somebody in Trump's camp, somebody in this man's ear just says they got the bomb and this man's just going full force, or they're going towards a bomb. They're going towards a bomb, Trump. They're trying to make a bomb, Trump. I mean, we've been getting told this for decades, and they still don't have a bomb. We still don't have proof that they're even trying to build a bomb. But yet we're going in there like we have all that together.
Looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
Mr. President.
So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
On the southern border, you've had record low numbers for the month of May, 95 apprehensions, 0 releases, compared to that of the previous administration exactly a year ago, more than 60,000 releases. What do you attribute that success to?
I like you. Who are you with?
Turning Point USA, sir.
Well, they're very good. Turning Point.
Of course.
Charlie, very good. See, that's what I call a good question, fellas. 1 out of 10, John. 1 out of 10, but that's a really good question. No, we had record good numbers on the border. And people are coming in, but they have to come in legally. Like some of these guys behind me, they have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our country. And if they can't say that, we don't want them. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you very much, everybody.
I mean, agreed. I mean, if you can't come in as an immigrant saying that you love our country and that you're ready to work in our country and not commit any crime in here, then I mean, yeah, we don't need you here. Or especially if you ain't want to follow our laws, especially the laws you need to get into this country. I mean, that's even crazier. But all right, guys, let's get into this Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz. This was actually a good one.
Senator, thank you very much for spending the time to have this conversation.
It's good to be with you.
So you've come out for regime change in Iran, as distinct just from taking out the nuclear sites. What does regime change look like in Iran?
somebody else in charge.
How do you get there?
Look, that ultimately has to be a popular uprising from the people. And it's not a complicated question. Is America better off?
But that's the thing, though. Every time we force a regime change, things get worse. And we know this. So why are they over here acting like we don't remember, the past? And every time we ended off with a regime change, things got a little bit more distinct. Actually, things got even worse. People more radical came into power. So, yeah, this whole regime change idea is like, it sounds nice, but has it worked in the future? And if you guys really want this, please tell me how it's going to end up different. Please explain to me.
With a country that has a leader who hates us and wants to kill us, or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be friends with us. And
Right.
so with the Ayatollah in Iran saying you're for regime change, I don't view as complicated. I mean, the guy literally leads mobs chanting death to America. So that's not good.
I mean, yeah, we all agree that that's not good, but a regime change also never ends good. So maybe we might want to try something a little different. Maybe. I'm just saying. I don't know. We'll chat what you think.
Definitely not good. But the reason I think it's important to get a little more detailed about how that might happen is because there's military action in progress, which we're supporting. And the president has said clearly, including last night, that he is focused on eliminating the capacity of the Iranian government to produce nuclear weapons. You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have.
No, I have not said that once.
Okay.
I don't think we need to use military force to do regime change. I said I support it. I would like to see it happen. You asked me how should it happen? A popular uprising. What I've advocated for. All right, let's step back a second. You and I, we've known each other a long time. I would say we agree on about 80% of the things on Earth.
For sure.
And there are a lot of things, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of foreign policy as much as you want. There are a lot of things on which you and I agree, not just a little bit, but violently.
I totally agree. I was rooting for you in your last campaign, for sure.
Well, thank you. Look, you have been heroic on the border. You've been one of the clearest and best voices in the whole country on securing the border and on the absolute crisis we're facing. And in Texas, I see it and live it every day. In COVID, in fact, you may recall in the middle of the COVID lockdown, I was out walking my dog when the whole world was shut down and we were living in lunatic times. And I called you and said, Tucker, your nightly monologues are the single best thing on television. Like I watch them like an injection of crack. Okay, I'm mixing my metaphor because you don't inject crack, but you get what I'm saying.
Try.
No, I mean, you were standing up and speaking like, what the hell are we doing in a way that we desperately, desperately needed. And so whether it's securing the border, whether it's the insanity of COVID lockdowns and the vaccine mandates, whether it is the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, you and I agree on a ton of stuff. The 20% where we disagree, I do think is meaningful. And it's mostly in the foreign policy space. And what I would say, if you'll allow me to get a little theoretical, and then I'm happy to get specific.
Yes.
For a long time, people have perceived two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, George W. Bush. And there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive.
Here's the thing, though. You can call them isolationists, or you can just call them people who just want to stay out of other people's business. And don't throw taxpayer dollars in American lives into the wind. Like, you ever just thought about that? Instead of isolationists, they could be, I don't know, lifesavers.
Those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other. I've always thought both were wrong. I don't agree with either one. The way I view my own foreign policy.
I'm with you, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I don't know who set up that binary, but there are lots of choices, actually.
I mean, people sort of naturally fall into, I think they want to classify people, and they're like, okay, you're one or the other, and you got to be all or nothing. And the interventionists, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And the isolationists, I think, don't take the threats to America seriously, and I think that's naive, and it doesn't work. And so
here's the thing. You want us to go to war on a threat. And that's actually a gross misinterpretation of his argument. But That's what I hear a lot of the pros Israel guys who want to get into war with these guys. And it's like, well, do you not hear what they say about America? They chant death to America. I'm just like, so you want to get into war over a threat? I mean, you know how much other countries chant death to America, goddamn, on the daily? We're not talking about throwing over them. So over a chant, we should just, topple the whole regime, damn near go to war with the whole country because over a chant? Like, I don't know, guys. I think we got to have thicker skin than that. Like, trust me, I find it disrespectful and I don't like it either, but to go to war with them over it, I think I'd just rather not visit there or get involved in their conflicts.
It was interesting. I had a long...
How did Assad get kicked out?
Yeah. When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours. He's a good friend of mine. And we talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else, in that he said he believes what toppled Assad was when Israel took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah, and they took him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey, our NATO ally Turkey, played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look, my understanding of that, they clearly took out Nasrallah and Hezbollah. They've decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So
NATO is kind of known to get secretly involved in some things. So do we through our CIA, but let's be real. NATO had fingerprints all over that drone strike in Russia. Bro, NATO fingerprints all over it. So to say that NATO might have had no involvement in Syria, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with it.
Decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us. I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. I think time will tell.
For the United States.
Yeah, for the United States. I think time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned. Let me step back and let's talk regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also oppose the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And we have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again, there's a bad guy, there's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people, and they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over, and they start killing Americans. In my view, how the heck does that help us? Saddam Hussein was a horrible human being. He murdered.
But that's what we do, though. We'll get involved. We'll pick a side in the civil war. We'll have usually the most radical group take over, and then it becomes a bigger problem. Yeah, that's because we intervene. That's because that's what you guys are. So here's the problem. What's wrong with taking an isolationist stance? What's wrong with taking that stance for the one time, guys? Just for the one time. Just try it out. Just one time.
Murdered and tortured people. Unequivocally bad guy.
All right, what do you mean by hating Israel? I would have to ask them. Disagreeing with what the Israeli government is doing, or you mean just outright hating Jews? Because, if you're talking about outright hating Jews, then real with you, got a point. But if you're talking about disagreement with what Israel is doing as their government, Benjamin Netanyahu and his whole cabinet there, yeah, you're being a bit dishonest with that claim.
If we're just trying to defend America, we tried to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel. It would cost, I don't know, $30 billion, $300 billion.
So can you elaborate? And again, I'm going into this as someone who's always liked Israel and still does. But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
So does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other. And I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think humans are all part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs.
I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the reasons socialism doesn't work because conservatives don't live in that fantasy that people won't act within their self-interest. And then capitalism kind of plays along with that. Well, human behavior, really, honestly, human nature at that point. So, yeah, like socialism is kind of something that you got to force because, I mean, let's be real, it's a fairy tale if you think people are going to go along with it willingly. And capitalism just goes along with the human nature of going along with their self-interest, of every person's self-interest.
Doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us. And I'm not.
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it.
I mean, look, I get that everybody acts within their self-interest, but that doesn't mean you allow spying, though. I mean, hold on now, G. I was with you there. I was with you. Until you said that. Like, whoa, I didn't know you was going to lead it into letting us get spied on now. That's a bit of a turn.
But of course they do. I understand that, and by the way, I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be.
Sure, I'd ask them this: is it okay for them to spy on us, and is it okay for them to have a nuke as well without us knowing? Or without anybody being able to check on it, but damn near the whole world knows. Like, is that okay? Is it okay for Israel to just have all this free reign to pretty much subvert international law and all that good stuff? Is that okay? Is that working within Americans' interest, Ted?
Closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clearest.
But I just want to stop on this fine for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the president of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't see.
And all right, guys, now let's go ahead and take a quick little comedic interlude. You know, let's share this little funny clip, man. Shout out to the PBD parody account. All right, guys.
Okay, guys. I want to clarify about the big surprise, because everybody's been giving me shit about this all day because nothing happened. So here goes, okay?
The big surprise happened. It was just late as hell. Like, we was thinking in the morning or right there and then, and this man releases it like 10 hours later. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you were right about the surprise, just at the wrong time.
Okay, guys. I want to clarify about the big surprise, because everybody's been giving me shit about this all day because nothing happened. So here goes, okay? I did have a big surprise. But when I gave the order to detonate, they told me we had no nuclear scientists anymore. They're all dead. So I said, you know what? Bring me the freaking bomb. I will detonate that bitch myself. They said, sir, there is no bomb. So I said, what do you mean there is no bomb? And they said, no bomb, sir. We just heard Israel say we had one, so we all thought we had one. But we don't have shit. And then the morning came, and I was all depressed and shit, so that's what happened.
I mean, shoot, he got a point. Shoot, the way Israel's saying it is like, damn, they saying it so much, even Iran think they got a bomb. It's like, what you mean?
Seem able to say that.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us. They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think.
Well, I'm not for that at all. Okay. I think it's just.
Oh, and shout out to my man Jonah in the scenery. He said Jews want a holy war apocalypse. Prophecy done. Oh, well. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay. Shout out to my man Jonah in the scenery. Appreciate the support, man.
Disgusting, but we don't actually pay their. You know, we're not their most meaningful sponsor. We're not. It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting a Bible phrase, you don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused.
Bro.
What does that even mean?
Tucker.
You're leading on that theology with, you lead American people through that theology as well? I mean, that is a concern. That is a concern. And I don't care. Let's be real. You could be Christian and kind of keep out that part of it. It's like, what? You're telling me that we can't trust no Christian politicians to not work for Israel? Like, are you freaking serious? Like, no, there's a lot of Christians who would sit there and be like, yo, what the hell he's talking about? Like, why would I sit there and just like having a pretty much say, because of my religion, I have an allegiance to this country that is not my own. It's a bit discomforting. I mean, you could do it. You have freedom to do it, but it is discomforting.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're biblically commanded? Hold on. And Tucker's a hardcore Christian as well. So I'm pretty sure they have some disagreements on that one. They're like, whoa, my friend. Whoa, okay. I can see where all the Christians kind of like throw themselves into the fire over this. Now I see why. Like, go back on that.
We're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support.
I mean, good point. But all right, shout out to my man Castro. He says the Israelites are not the regime of the Jews. And shout out to my man Castro.
Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So, bro, I'm pretty sure if I ask Christians about this, they'll be like, yeah, I get it, but no. For our country to have an allegiance to Israel just off, your spiritual belief? I mean, isn't there supposed to be a separation of church and state and all that good stuff? Like I said, we were built on Judeo-Christian values, but I don't think that our Judeo-Christian values should let us, pretty much, we're supposed to serve Israel. Let them lead us into any war just because the Bible says you're blessed for doing so and you're not if you don't. I can see why they look down on us, because they don't see us as blessed. I mean, very diversive language, huh?
That's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
That would be wild if God pretty much says, yes, we're all supposed to serve in the year, I don't know, from the year 1945 all the way out to from therefore after. From the year 1948 to therefore after, you guys will serve the Jews and help the state of Israel or help the country of Israel because the homeland of, the Jews. I mean, can somebody point that out in the Bible to me, please? I know I'm paraphrasing. I'm probably paraphrasing. Maybe you can find it for me. But please show me that in the Bible, because I don't think God was ever that specific.
Yes,
it is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister,
right?
What?
But just like America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle.
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
you believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about in Genesis.
Shout out to Anonymous. He says Cruz is cooked, and I mean, bro, you ain't lying. This man is boy. And I think after this, it was after this interview, he released a little picture that said there was Tucker Carlson, a cartoon of Tucker Carlson asking Luke Skywalker, do you know how much people are on the Death Star? I was like, bro, you guys are disingenuous as hell, bro, with your arguments sometimes.
I do.
I have a religious belief that we're supposed to protect Israel, and you're acting it out in your everyday life. It's a bit hard to say that you're separated from it, my friend. It's a bit hard.
Just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now.
I'm crying. Shout out to this man, Hellbad. Like, there once was a guy so black that the difference between him and midnight was 11:59. There once was a man so white, you find a low beam flashlight and he would reflect back brighter. You're welcome. Hey, shout out. That was hilarious. Man. At least you hit both sides.
Is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently. We talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military.
I know they started it, so I'm glad they're winning, but they did start it.
Leadership and trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
So the president has said repeatedly, Iran.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, hey, yo, if they pull it off, you're right. You're right. And if we don't get involved, even better. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not sure. And I'm gonna be real with you, for what I've been hearing on both sides. It kind of seems like you guys are going tit for tat, and there's a huge amount of damage on both sides. So it's hard to sit here and say that Israel's just completely whooping their ass.
Cannot have a nuclear
for,
weapon,
right? Yes.
And he will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He said that like 100 times. He clearly means it. I think he will use force to effect that if he feels he has to. I think he's been really clear about that. I don't know, but it seems that way. Do you feel that? Do you think that's correct?
Whether he would use force to stop a nuclear weapon, I think he has put that option on the table.
He certainly suggested. I mean, I have literally no idea what's going to happen, but just reading his.
He said the most racist AI jokes are funny. Prove me wrong.
Statements.
Or you said I make the most racist AI jokes or racist jokes. Prove me wrong.
He's made that really clear.
So what he has been very clear about, and I spoke with the president on Sunday, is he has been very clear to Iran that if they attack U.S. servicemen and women, there will be real consequences and I think very serious military response.
By the way, this is a sidebar, but I just can't resist. The Prime Minister of Israel said that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice.
Yeah, I read your newsletter this morning, and
but do you believe that's true?
I think it was sort of a word game. What is true is Iran is trying to assassinate Donald J. Trump, and they have hired hitmen. Now, you pointed out...
No, he said that they have tried twice to kill him, and I don't know that... I don't have any evidence that's true, but I sort of wonder if that is true. Why aren't we at war with them already?
Okay. And I read your newsletter this morning, and I thought it was playing word games to draw a political point.
How's that a word game? It's my president. And
can I tell you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. You rightly pointed out there's no evidence that this clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, who shot the president was working for the Iranians. I don't think he was. There's no evidence of that. Although I would like to know more about who he was and what's going on. But I don't find it plausible that he was working for the Iranians. So was that caused by the Iranians? No. But what is true, and what your newsletter didn't acknowledge, is it true or false that Iran is currently trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen to do so?
Well, that's the question, and I don't know the Butler, Pennsylvania thing.
Pennsylvania.
Let's just put that aside. I don't know.
So
yeah, it was a bit wild when BB just came out there and said Iran had tried to plot an assassination against Trump twice, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, bro, you got any proof on that? Can you link it? Got some files that we should know about, because they ain't told us nothing. We don't know nothing about Thomas Crooks, and we know a little bit about that man Ryan Routh, but that's it. That's it. The only thing we know about him, he was just pro-Israel. Thomas Crooks wiped clean. So the fact that that man came out and said something like that, I was like, yeah, bro. I mean, real with you, you shouldn't be saying that, because you can't prove it, because our government can't even prove it. But all right, guys, as I take a quick little break. Shout out to my man Matt Gaetz. He went and broke this down. You know, when I hear this man, I'm just like, bro, why couldn't you just been the attorney general, bro? I feel like he wouldn't have been here. I see why they was going so hard against you. But all right, let's go. Okay, hold on here, guys. I guess we're having a bit of a difficulty on that side. Yep, bit of a difficulty on that side. Gotcha.
So Netanyahu.
Well, I mean, they arrested from the second one, or the attempt on the second one. So at least they got that guy, but we didn't hear nothing about him ever since. So, shoot. I mean, what? Same plot, same story. All right, guys. All right, let's get into the video real quick while I take a quick break.
Israel didn't kick their regime change habit with Iraq or Libya or Syria, it seems. They need another fix. But Matt, this isn't a regime change war. It's about Iran's nuclear program. I wish that were true, but it's not. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene opined that maybe Netanyahu is so feisty about regime change in Iran because he was facing regime change in Israel.
It's not being reported enough that on Thursday, they held a vote in the Knesset, and it was only by 2 votes that Netanyahu won. If he had lost, they would have had another election in Israel, and the polling shows that he would lose if an election were to occur today. That vote happened last Thursday. And then Friday, Israel attacked Iran. That's why the bombs are falling, and it seems very political.
Here's how you know this isn't about Iran's nuclear program. We aren't taking these steps to force denuclearization where the threat is higher and the leaders are even crazier. Take North Korea. North Korea's nuclear program is a far greater threat to the United States than Iran's. It is not even close. I know, I've had the briefings. I was on the House Armed Services Committee for 8 years. Iran has neither the bomb, the delivery system, nor the re-entry vehicle that...
I've heard that same argument that it's crazy to sit there and say that Iran can bomb anybody because they can make a nuke and they don't have the jets or the bombers they have none of those to carry it. They have no bombers to carry this nuke that everybody's afraid of. Nor do they. And I heard that was one of the reasons why they gave up on making nukes, because they was like, bro, we have to do way too much to go out there, honestly, and just have to build a whole new plane with the bombers to build a nuke. And if we do all that, then it's going to be like, come on now. Then everybody can sit there and point the finger at us like, yeah, look at them. You're building a nuke. You're building a plane to drop the nuke. But they have not done so yet. So saying that it's about nukes is a bit crazy. So, hey, man, shout out Matt Gaetz. He be cooking.
Take North Korea. North Korea's nuclear program is a far greater threat to the United States than Iran's. It is not even close. I know, I've had the briefings. I was on the House Armed Services Committee for 8 years. Iran has neither the bomb, the delivery system, nor the re-entry vehicle that you would need for any intercontinental ballistic missile to launch and re-enter orbit. North Korea has all three. North Korea could launch a nuclear weapon at mainland United States today. And we've probably got the ability to knock it out of the sky, but Iran can't even get their bird in the air. Iran's Death to America chant isn't really my bag, obviously, but Kim in the Hermit Kingdom points to U.S. cities like Los Angeles and San Diego and Seattle on maps, and he openly discusses wiping off major U.S. population centers from existence. Of course, we aren't looking to drop 100 bunker busters in the mountains of North Korea.
You want to know why? You want to know why? Because they have nukes. So it's kind of funny how like everybody kind of, shaming Iran. Let's say this. Let's say Iran does want nukes. Let's say they are. Let's be real. The fact that South Korea was able to build nukes and they've garnished our fear off that's why we want to attack them or even touch them while they sit there and brag about the fact that they can hit us at any moment. Yeah, that's kind of a good reason for them to have nukes, because it kind of keeps the U.S. away, or kind of keeps U.S. intervention away when you got nukes for some reason. Actually, for a great reason, thank God. But hey, this is kind of what the whole debunking of, well, this is all about them having nuclear power.
There are brilliant diplomatic steps to constrain North Korea's hostilities. And the same could be done with Iran. But Matt, Iran has kicked out IAEA inspectors. There could be portions of their nuclear program that are secret. A nuclear secret in the Middle East. How about it? If the world is interested in a secret nuclear program in the Middle East, there is a country that won't allow any international inspectors. Israel.
Ooh, I mean, he ain't lying. And shout out to my man Green Bean. He's like, this is the year of peak internet content. I mean, for real. It's getting crazy out here.
Israel has a nuclear weapon. Did you know that? I do. They allow no inspections. They are fully secretive and clandestine about it. And the Americans are fully aware. You know what? I don't even blame Israel for this. If they want to develop a nuclear weapon, if they had the blessing to do so secretly, I'm not in judgment of that. But to drag the world into a regime change war over secret nuclear weapons, when you have secret nuclear weapons, is a bit hypocritical. President Trump is the kind of guy who never gives up on a deal. Throughout his life, he's probably made deals and made lots of money on them, even when others walked away or didn't see value in a transaction. So here's a deal. How about Iran and Israel both give up their secret nuclear weapon programs?
Ooh, I love
If
that.
Trump got that deal, he wouldn't only get the Nobel Peace Prize, they'd probably name it the Trump Peace Prize forevermore. And it's not that crazy to think about Israel denuclearizing.
Oh, God. I mean, yeah, if we got them both to denuclearize, everything would be cool. Like, let's be real, and that's the problem. I mean, we can't sit here and place all this judgment on Iran without looking at Israel. Then we sit here and can't have all this like criticism of Iran when we're looking over at South Korea and we're going like, you know, it's so crazy. Like, these guys are a crazier threat than Iran. These guys got the capability, they got the missile launchers, they got the bombers and all that. Iran doesn't have no nukes that we can verify, or no bombers to carry said nukes that we can verify.
Look at the model in South Africa.
There's a whole bunch of 50-year-old jets that they bought from us.
Okay. South Africa denuclearized right before they stopped being an apartheid state. Prominent voices in Israel and America have called for Trump to recognize Israel's sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, which some people call the West Bank. If that happens, Israel will have to let the 5 to 6 million people who live there vote. And they don't want to do that. I'm not calling Israel an apartheid state. Right now, I don't think they are. But if they are
a state at war. I mean, it's like the same excuse they give Zelensky. Well, they're at war, so there should be no need for an election, even though the people's crying out for it. So same thing with Israel. Even though the people want to have an election, they're like, well, they're at war, so there's no need for an election. Let Benjamin Netanyahu, you know, run game as he is right now. And shout out to my man Green Bean coming in again. He's like, I'll take this content over Kilmar any day. I mean, hey, me too. I can't wait for them, for those verdicts, for those charges.
They are ruling the West Bank,
that court
as the neocons would suggest, then the South Africa model for denuclearization is not totally off base. There's a certain bravado at the beginning of a Middle East regime change war. There's enthusiasm, bold predictions of swift victory, and usually a total misunderstanding of what happens next. And the leading voice championing regime change wars for decades has been Fox News.
We must do the right thing. Saddam is evil and a threat to the world. He must go. We should have just taken 1441 and rammed it down.
I ain't gonna lie, that's all I've been hearing. That's all I've been hearing on Fox News. Is straight warmongering propaganda. Straight, we gotta come at them. We gotta go at it. Iran, and as they, you know, celebrate every strike or win that Israel gets, while not reporting any damages that Israel's taken. I mean, they've even said it on air. I think it was Lindsey Graham when she was talking to the reporter. She was like, "Well, I know they don't want you to show it, but what's the reported damage of the Pentagon and there in Israel?" And it was like, I was like, really? You just admit that Israeli media don't want them to show the damages that's going on in Israel or Tel Aviv? Well, in Tel Aviv.
It is dangerous to allow an evil dictator to remain in power. Now, if you want a chance that Saddam would never use those deadly weapons, that is your right in a free society, and I respect that right. But I don't want to chance that. Saddam Hussein is the largest army in the Middle East, all right? He has developed these weapons for no purpose. He doesn't need them defensively, all right? He doesn't need them at all. He's used them, as you know, all right? And he's invaded 2 other countries. But this isn't enough for you to have him removed. I think you're dead wrong. I don't think that there's any reason on this earth that that man should remain in power. In the end, Saddam will be removed from power, and the world will be a better place.
God damn it. Even back then, there was people going like, you know, maybe we should keep Saddam there. I don't know. Things might get bad. And even then, we did not listen. I mean, this argument has been old as honestly, it's probably like, what, 4 decades old at this point. We just keep falling for it.
We will lose American lives, but it will be brief. We're going to find out massive evidence of weapons of mass destruction.
I am confident that all those things that you predict are going to come true, and a lot of people that have been laying...
Damn it, Hannity and McCain. I thought McCain looks like it, but damn it, guys. And they were completely wrong. Imagine being completely wrong then, and then really trying to have this same argument now. You were wrong then, Hannity, and yet you come through with the same rhetoric now as if you learned nothing at all? Okay. All right.
Now, the case against us are going to be very embarrassed.
The Iraqi regime did not and has not disarmed. Saddam Hussein is deemed by the White House a threat to American national security, a brutal, murderous dictator, and a menace to the world. It is the hope of the administration and the goal of the war planners that disarmament and regime change be accomplished as swiftly as practical. Some number of our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters will give their lives for the cause of freedom.
Things that we haven't seen in the past, very accurate weapons, very lethal. The Moab is a daisy cutter on steroids, and Iraq is not prepared for what's going to be thrown at them.
Oh, Iraq wasn't prepared. Daisy cutter? This is how easily the so-called foreign policy experts believed we would carve our way through Iraq.
Bro, I could see why they didn't want this man as attorney general and they had to get him out for Pam Bondi. I see why. If this is how this man was talking, bro, I doubt we'd have ever got into this whole conflict.
I saw how many of our bravest patriots were pushing up daisies as a consequence of that war. I went to their funerals. I visited their grave sites. I saw the true cost of a flawed regime change war in the Middle East. The problem is we had no plan to get out. Iraq cost America $3 trillion, and this distraction and disaster aided in both the rise of China and ISIS. Whoever was telling you that we had the ability to topple a regime in Iraq and then come out with something better was either one, lying to you, or two, so wholly ignorant about the country they were invading that their lack of knowledge or curiosity or understanding led to blood and terrorism and chaos. So as we approach the 2025 vintage of regime change wars,
these people pretend to know these people. They pretend to understand the culture. They pretend to know all this stuff about this country and don't know shit. And then when it all falls apart, they're surprised. And it's like, of course you're surprised because you're fear mongering on, well, let's be real, Muslim people. You're painting these people as radicalists as if they can't be talked to. And then when we take them down, we get somebody even more radical that we really can't talk to. I mean, damn. When are we going to learn, America? Well, honestly, Fox News, because you guys, I mean, they're saying the same crap from 22 years ago. 22 years ago, and Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, and all these guys still ain't learned their lessons. Still.
Iran, I wonder if those now cheerleading attacks on Iran know anything about the country they want to topple.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
You know, we're going to get to this breakdown too, because a lot of people react at this very moment right here, and everybody was outraged by it. But let's get back to the interview here. And, you know, who's going to join me? Shout out to my man, Will. Hey, man, shout out to my man, Will. You going to help me break this one down? How you doing, Will?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Man, it's all good. Big dog's all good. All right, man, let's get right into it.
Iranian hitman to murder Mike Pompeo when he was President Trump's first Secretary of State, the first term rather. John Bolton when John Bolton was National Security Advisor to President Trump, and a guy named Brian Hook who was Assistant Secretary of State.
Right.
During the Biden administration.
Wait, but hold on. Can we go back to Donald Trump because he's the president? No, it's a big deal. What do you mean? When no one has been arrested for these assassination attempts on Trump.
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
Please.
All right, let me break it down.
When they keep saying through proxy, I'm like, okay, can you please release that information and please release the money trail, show us the bank accounts, and please let it lead all the way back to Iran. If not, then you guys are kind of trying to lie to us.
No, exactly. That's the problem.
People have been arrested. So the reason I brought up Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook, who are under active assassination attempts because of their service in the first Trump administration, under the Biden
administration. Well, they say that. I've never seen any evidence of it.
Can I give you the evidence?
Well, let's just stick with Trump.
No, because these are interrelated. So let me make a bloody point. Under the Biden administration, the State Department was spending $2 million a month providing security for Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook. And they did arrest Iranian hitmen at John Bolton's apartment complex who rented, I think, the apartment next to him and were actively trying to assassinate him, and they went and arrested them. So, yes, they caught Iranian hitmen. Now, it so happens Iran's not very good at it. And so they are actively trying. And in fact,
but what about Trump? He's the president. If there's a plot to kill Trump by the Iranians.
Okay, so you dispute that the Iranians are trying to kill Trump?
Of course. I mean, that's the most important question. The Prime Minister of Israel just said there have been 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump by the Iranians. And I think it's a very fair.
He lost that battle.
Oh, say that again.
Oh, I was saying, I think that at that point when he turned around and tried to turn it back on him, he was realizing that he was just spewing information, not with facts.
Exactly. And I mean, it's just a bad argument that he's leaning on at this point. I don't know. It's like I said, I agree with Ted Cruz on a lot of things, but like when it comes to this whole like, oh yeah, we need to support Israel, we need to go ahead and fund this. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it with this man at a certain point. And I'm glad Israel, I mean not Israel, but I'm glad Tucker sat him down and had this conversation because
Yeah.
let's
No,
be real.
really. I'm just with you on that agreement. It's okay, we can support Israel, but we can support them from afar. No, we don't have to get involved.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I mean, like if they just want the weapons, I mean, sure. But even then, though, anything that would risk America getting involved, like, because I would say I would take Iran serious on this. They say, hey, look, man, we'll leave you guys alone if you don't get involved. And I would be like, okay, cool. Israel, you got it. You got enough weaponry. You got the missiles. And everybody on social media and on the mainstream media is telling us that you guys are winning. So they shouldn't need no support. But I'm over here hearing that Israel can't wait for Americans to come in. And I'm like, hold on. I thought y'all had it.
Question, maybe you disagree, to ask, what are you talking about?
Okay. And I agree with you that he misspoke.
So there weren't those two attempts?
There were two attempts, but the clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the other guy on the golf course
So
were
what
not
were the
connected
two
to the
attempts?
Iranians. That's the part that he misspoke. But by the way, when you speak all the time, occasionally what he said that was accurate is that Iran is actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen.
Okay, but right, okay, that's fine.
And he was
but where
conflating it with the two attempts.
I understand. But I just want to pull that thread because it's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump. Yeah. He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if Iran...
Nah, I'll give BB some grace. He didn't conflate anything, to be quite honest with you. He didn't say... He just said there's been two attempts on this man's life, and we all just jumped to that conclusion that he was talking about Thomas Crook and Ryan Rove. So he didn't really conflate anything. He just said, period, point blank, there's been two attempts on the president's life by Iran. And we're just like, whoa, what? By who? Is like, are you talking about these two, or is it a different two? What's going on here?
There's evidence that Iran paid hit.
Oh, yeah, what's up?
Well, I was gonna say there's also many attempts at things of terrestrial attacks on the U.S. soil that most of us don't even hear about. So, I mean, he could be onto something because a lot of the information doesn't get let out, which I don't understand why, whatever. But it's still, if you're going to try and tie it to people, like, that's where Ted went wrong, is he's trying to tie it in that, oh, it was those two attempts. Well, it wasn't Iranians that were doing that.
I mean, facts. But now here's the thing, though, and this is what I don't like about this war right now, is that we're seeing all the strikes on Tehran and all that good stuff, but we're not hearing about really. We've only heard about maybe like one strike in Israel, and actually, but then when you go ahead and dig deeper, there's been multiple strikes in Israel that they're just not reporting on, and I'm a bit weary on that because I'm just like, you don't want to blindside the people now. You're over here telling them that Israel's winning, they got this and that, and then maybe like 2 weeks later, they're going like Israel has to have complete surrender to Iran. We're just like, whoa, what?
No, exactly. That's where it's like, if only they would broadcast the true information of what's going on. And it's like, okay, if you really needed us to get involved, which, don't get me wrong, Israel has a very strong defense. They do have a defense that most people don't realize. And everybody wants to discredit because the Iron Dome failed. Well, it was never tested really before.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing its job. It's just the problem is it can't protect everything. And that, bro, they're using the same strategy that Hamas did, except with more sophisticated weapons.
Exactly.
And that's yeah.
They're the size of like New Mexico or California compared to like the U.S. as a whole. So you've got a lot less land and you're a lot easier to target compared to somebody that's got massive lands.
Yeah, now there's been dishonest reporting when they said, Israel hides behind its citizens. And I'm like, come on now, that's just unfair to say. Reason why I said that is because, well, like, bro, it's such a condensed place. It's like, yeah, the Pentagon, people live around the Pentagon. People live around Mossad headquarters. People live around the rockets that shoot off from the Iron Dome. They live around that.
It's like, what do you expect when you have such small space?
Exactly. I was like hiding behind it. I'm like, come on now, don't do that to them.
meant to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that. Where's that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
That's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
Congress has, and the public. I mean, we had multiple testimonies. I can send you testimony.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States?
Yes. And by the way, like Iran...
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Right, but I've never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now. We should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true.
Right now.
Don't you think?
No.
If they're trying to assassinate our president?
They have been for 2.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's how you kind of know it's a lie. Cause I'm like, bro, where's the severity? Like, where's the seriousness here? Like, they're trying to take out our leader, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like Tucker's animosity. I'm like, yo, if that's the case, then yeah, blow them up. Take out the leader right now and just take out the leader alone. Because if they're trying to come for our head, well, why not just decapitate them right now? Like, I get it. And the fact that they're not taking that action kind of lets me know that, all right, well, you may not believe it. I don't think you guys believe it as much as y'all say y'all do. Because, or else you'd be acting on it. It's kind of like the whole Europe and Russia thing. Oh, Russia's about to take us over. Russia's going to take us over. Then why are you just depending on little bro Ukraine instead of just stepping in yourselves? Since, y'all got some skin in the game too. Because it's not that serious. You really don't believe that.
2 years.
Then
they
why
are
we
enemies.
At war with them?
Well.
Oh, you want to say something?
Oh, no, I was just going to say I agree with that. It's just because there's attempts, there's always attempts. You can't sit here and say that nobody doesn't try. It happens all the fucking time. People just don't realize it.
True.
Assassinate our president?
They have been for 2 years.
Then
they
why
are
we
enemies.
At war with them?
Well, we are trying to.
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's nothing that you could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't understand why you're not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're trying to murder
the use of nuclear weapons,
whatever
that's part
it
of the
takes.
problem of. So
what do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegations seriously. I do. If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
Can I ask something? And I mean this sincerely. So,
all
right. 20 years ago.
Ooh, it does sound a bit war hawkish, but that's reasonable. That's reasonable. If they are trying to assassinate our leader, then we should just go ahead and take theirs out, period, point blank. The Israel and put innocent Israelis' lives in danger for that. Like, why would we do that? Like, on its face, it don't make sense. And it sounds a bit inhumane.
Of why and for.
Huh?
And especially since how we wouldn't really have to give it to Israel if we really wanted to take somebody out. We have the evidence.
He's like, oh, Israel's doing it for us. Bro, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why would we put Israeli lives in danger? If this is true, then we're intentionally throwing Israel into the fire, and hopefully it walks out.
Yeah, no, that's where I was trying to argue with the person earlier. It's like, oh, well, America is not as tough military as before because we haven't won wars and stuff. And it's like, actually, if you do your research, we haven't been in war. We've only been in complications. Military actions, and the reality is, again, we follow the Geneva Conference.
Yeah,
90% of our hand. 90% of if we went to a full-on war, the Geneva Conference goes away.
Yeah, man, shoot, if we was if we was warmongering country like these guys wanted us, half the world would be under our control.
Exactly, that's the problem.
Exactly, we don't as much as it sounds. I don't know if you're an imperialist, but it don't sound too good to me. But to them, I'm sure it sounds nice.
Okay, so you're saying we should just go in and take out the government of Iran. Why would we outsource it to Israel if they're trying to murder our president? Okay, you sound like the isolationist.
What I'm saying on any military judgment is there needs to be
And shout out to my man Vlad Steen. He says bunker busters to remove their nuclear capacity. That's not a causation for all-out war. If Russia or China fully supported them, they would supply the tech and blueprints to build the big one. But that's the thing, though. That doesn't like take out the. Well, do they got bombers? Are they gonna give them a bomber too to go ahead
You
and pick
don't
up this bomb?
you don't really need a bomber though. You could slip one in a briefcase.
The nuke?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, what type of what? What they got miniature nukes now?
Mini bombs, dirty bombs, as we call them.
Okay. Well, it all right, but it's not gonna be anything as devastating like mushroom cloud effect, right? Now I say we'd have. Well, we never seen one really go off, so we wouldn't know.
It could take out most of New York, depending on where they would let a dirty bomb go. You could do heavy damages.
Suicide bomb it. So what you gonna do? Like fly some guy who's gonna suicide bomb it? Like, well, I mean, that makes sense, but fly somebody on a jet to suicide bomb it, let him parachute down Hamas style and then blow himself up? Like, well,
No, I mean they could slip it in. I mean, let's face it, it's always a threat. It is, because again, it can come in on a briefcase. It could be coming in on a ship. Think about it.
I mean, good point. On this shit, bro. Yeah, when you say it like that, the dirty bomb method, that requires a lot of intelligence. I would feel like Israel would get that off on Iran before Iran gets it off on Israel.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it, you're right. That it's kept under high visibility for a reason.
Actually, it's crazy. I actually do have video of Iran. I mean, yeah, Iran. I think their police force discovered the Mossad secret base. I forgot where it was, but it was some secret underground base that they were just running through, and they were just like, "Yeah, this is where Mossad was coming through to get information in Iran." I was like, "Damn, it was a whole secret underground tunnel. Like, when did you damn near have to crawl through?"
Yep.
All right.
A cost benefit analysis of what are the risks versus what are the benefits. In this, and it is enormously in America about Iran.
That is, you know what? That is crazy. But just shout out. We're gonna go all the way to the right now. I mean, all the way to the right with this guy Nick Fuentes, as he sits there and explains why you kind of should know this.
And the first thing I'll say about Tucker pressing Ted Cruz on the population. You know, I see a lot of people saying, and this was Ted Cruz's reply, they said, well, what does it matter what the population of Iran is? That was Ted Cruz's rebuttal. So Ted Cruz is advocating that the United States overthrow the regime in Iran and go to war. I mean, we're bombing Iran. Make no mistake about it. That is what they are pushing. They are pushing the United States dropping bombs on Iran. Iran will attack us. And then we may be put in the position of overthrowing their government, which will have massive ramifications. And I see defenders of Ted Cruz, including Ted Cruz himself, they're saying, well, why do we need to know what the population is? Bruh. So what? Did Luke Skywalker need to know the population of the Death Star before they blew it up in Star Wars? And I will answer this ridiculous rebuttal for anybody that needs to hear it. Of course, the size of the population, and we're not talking about down to the single digits, the exact number of people that live there, but having a general idea of the amount of people and what kind of people they are and how diverse it is and what their religion is and what the border areas are like, what the surrounding countries are like.
Yep.
This is all about the...
Let's be real. You would want to know that. You'd want to know all the ideology that's in there. You'd want to know the different races. You want to know how they think and all that good stuff so you can understand how they might react to a regime toppling. You might want to know about every other people, the ideology that they have or different or that they share. You might want to know that if you're going to go start bombing the shit out of them and then, toppling their leadership. It's like, come on, this is stuff we might want to know. And then we also might want to take into the account the population size of this fallout, because this isn't Afghanistan. Guys, I mean, this is Iran, 90 million people strong, falling into descent. That could be bad. And who knows how many radical terrorist group that will create? Who knows?
Complications. This is all the demographic information that is necessary to understand what the actual outcome of this conflict will be. Of course, it matters how big the population is. If you have a country like China with 1 billion people, overthrowing their government is a huge deal. Because a country with 1 billion people falling into chaos is a massive problem. You're talking about instability, which could cross over into other countries and destabilize borders. You're talking about a high casualty count of people that would die if supply chains are disrupted, if people can't get food or medicine. You're talking about a very difficult prospect of replacing the regime, earning the allegiance of the people, and maintaining some semblance of stability. There's a question of sectarian.
I mean, and let's be real, man. Implanting a leader never really works. That's why Haiti's in the condition it is now. We took out a leader. They implanted one that they like. The Haitian people revolted against that leader because the leader wasn't for the Haitian people. It was for the people that implanted them, that implanted that guy there. And the Haitian people ended up revolting against them. The guy fled the country, and now they're eating people in the street. It's like crazy, huh?
Sectarianism doesn't break up into multiple pieces. If you have a very large country with a large population with diversity, these are all complicating factors. These are all confounding variables that are going to influence the outcome of the conflict and actually how the conflict plays out in real time. So I see people saying, well, you know, what does it matter how many people are living there? It just goes to show they know nothing. They know nothing about conflict. They know nothing about grand strategy. They know nothing about international relations. Those are literally the first questions you need to ascertain. In particular, the relative population tables of one country versus another. It's a far bigger deal to topple Iran than Iraq because Iran has 3 times the population. And what else does that mean? If Iran has a much bigger population than Iraq, it means they have a bigger reserve to pull from for soldiers. Why does it matter what the ethnic mix is? Because that determines what kind of provisional government you're going to establish.
Good point.
It also determines whether there'll be fallout in the neighboring countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey, Iraq, particularly with the large Kurdish minority, large minority of Turkish people. All of these things are absolutely essential to even begin to understand what we're getting involved in Iran. Once you drop those bombs, you never take that back. And you set America down a course. We are entangled with this country. And it sets off a chain reaction, a domino effect across the entire region, just as it did before, just as it did in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, in every one of these countries, the big ones and the small ones, the ones with the larger population and a smaller one. Every time it happens, there's these kinds of ramifications. And you need to understand those things. You will never be able to predict precisely how a war plays out or what the outcome will be. But before making that irreversible decision to drop those bombs and get entangled and trigger the chain reaction, you have to have the humility and the respect of history and of mankind to understand exactly what you're getting into. And so for Ted Cruz not to understand the basics, he didn't even have a guess. Forget about he didn't know it was 92 million or 90 million.
I mean, here's the thing. When these pro-Israel guys, you know, break down Israel, they know how much people is in Israel. They know all the cities. They know the culture. They know how many Palestinians, the percentage of Palestinians, the percentage of Israelis. But you guys can't do that for Iran. So you guys know what you're destabilizing. Because if we let Israel go and get destroyed, we know what we're giving away. We know the culture that's there. We know what the damage that will be done. But y'all don't do that for other countries is a bit, I don't know, it's a bit disingenuous and kind of disrespectful. Maybe you should start caring about other cultures. And not over your own, of course, but you know, when it comes to these I'll say geopolitical matters.
He didn't even have a guess. It might be forgivable if he said, oh, I don't know, 80 million. If he was off by 10 million, that would have been forgivable. He doesn't have the slightest clue.
I mean, he didn't even try to throw a guess or anything. I was just like, bro, you don't even know at all? Like, you could have, bro, he could have said like 60, 80. I'd have been like, all right, you're off by 30. That's still a lot, but I'm gonna be real with you. At least you know there's a substantial amount of people there.
about any of it. Forget about the population. If you don't know that number, he doesn't know anything about any of it. Can he name the population, the top exports? Can he name the terrain, the size of the military, the structure of the military, of the government?
Nope.
And by the way,
but let's be honest, we're big dog America, so I mean, what do we care? We'll just blow it all up.
Tells you something which might be fairly obvious, but it's worth pointing out. Not only are these people advocating for a war, which they do not understand, advocating for a war against a country and a regime, which they do not understand. Obviously, this is extremely irresponsible and reckless, and it means you can't trust them because they don't even know what they're talking about. But maybe what is obvious but needs to be pointed out is that they have no idea what they're talking about. And so in a limited sense, you could say that's reckless for this decision. But what does that say? There are 100 U.S. senators, bicameral legislature, 50 states, 2 senators from each state. It's a statewide office, meaning they represent millions upon millions of people. There's only 100 of them in America. It's the upper chamber of the government. This is like the House of Lords in the United Kingdom. This is supposed to be like the aristocracy. This is supposed to be, if there's anything that is elite in society, it is the United States Senate. What does it say about our country that a U.S. senator from one of our largest states, by the way, Texas, and a strategically important state, doesn't seem to know anything? Forget about the people that you get your news from. Forget about the billionaires that run our economy. The U.S. senators that are tasked with passing the laws that govern all of it, they don't know basic information.
I mean, he ain't wrong. He's not wrong. And you would think you just looked this all up before you just want to steamroll into, Iran. You would think. But like I said, they don't really care. Strongest military in the world. That's for other countries to do. We're about to ask them then, okay, why are you not okay with Ukraine joining NATO? Because we all knew that's the last thing that Putin wanted. Everybody knew since the Bill Clinton administration that if Ukraine gets into NATO, Putin was going to go for it. Putin was going to react to that. So I would ask them, okay, then why'd you disagree with it then? If it wasn't going to start a war, why do you disagree?
I'm actually interested in facts. You're like, okay.
Okay, tell me, it seems super obvious. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry. That is a tick of mine that is wrong. And I mean this with sincerity. I'm sorry to do that to you. I just think it seems so obvious that sending Kamala Harris to the NATO Security Conference to say, you're going to join NATO is what triggered the invasion days later.
Okay, so this will take a few minutes to lay out because it's complicated, but I think the facts matter. I think 2 things caused the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
Number 1, I think Biden's incredible weakness and the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, I believe we need to leave Afghanistan, but not with the incompetence that led to 13 servicemen and women being murdered by terrorists there.
Now, look, I know I'm a guy on the right, but I think we're kind of shifting blame a little bit too much towards Biden for the whole Afghan mess up. Like, I get what you're saying about, that's when Biden saw the opportunity, but we can't sit here and pretend like that NATO factor wasn't a glaring thing right there. And he said that was his red line. So I get what you're saying, but that Afghanistan pullout, that had nothing to do with our military force and what we do to Putin if, we were actually serious about, stopping him. Like the Afghanistan pullout, I believe had nothing to do with that. But I mean, okay.
The way Biden did that was disastrous, and I think our enemies looked to the commander-in-chief and said, this president is weak. And when that withdrawal was so disastrous, I said publicly at the time, the chances of Putin invading Ukraine have just risen tenfold.
Right.
But secondly, and this is critically important.
Well, I agree. That was awful, the withdrawal.
And it was a major cause of our enemies all said, hey, this president is weak. And so it invited, and by the way, look.
But I'm still trying to relate that to how did that start? How? It's like, all right, so he's seen us pull out of Afghanistan, and he just said, you know what? F it. I'm just going to take Ukraine. Then why didn't China go for Taiwan then? If that's the case, all that should have snapped off at the same time if that was the true belief of the American government, or at least the American army. And our withdrawal from somewhere, I don't, like I said, was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And Biden should be ashamed. The whole Biden administration should be ashamed of it. But I don't think that was a major influence in why Putin invaded Ukraine. Like, and that's just my personal.
The whole purpose of America is to protect the God-given rights that each person possesses by virtue of being created by God.
Amen.
By being human. That's the point of our founding documents. And no other country articulates that in the way that we do. And that's what I love about America. My family's been here a long time. I'm never leaving. So I really love the country. Despite going to a Russian grocery store, despite asking you questions about AIPAC, I love America is the truth. And I love Trump. So, but I just want more emphasis on America. That's it.
I emphatically agree.
Now, we've definitely tortured people before. Like, come on now. CIA was definitely out there torturing people. And then when they finally stopped torturing people, is only because the FBI came up and proved that, you know what? It's better to play good cop, bad cop and get these guys to cooperate and like you than to just beat their ass and expect them to tell you the truth. I mean, but yeah, we did used to torture the hell out of people. I'm not even gonna lie. And we got experimental with it.
Agree with America first. I think Donald Trump does as well. And I think his foreign policy has been vigorously protecting that. And I agree with the president.
Good. Well, I appreciate your taking all this time.
Sure.
And I know you didn't mean it. When you call me those names. Thank you, Senator.
And now let's get over to some reactions. Shout out Candace Owens, because she's going to go ahead and be the first of one of our reactions.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel.
Of course, Candace would have a complete offense to this part. I already know.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel.
What you mean? I seen a video of a rabbi saying that, and it was the most wildest spin the way this rabbi spun it. But he says that, Christianity is built on worshiping a Jew. That's completely wrong. Christians worship all Jews because we're all suffering. We all died for the sins. And then I was just like, whoa there. Okay, hold on. I don't think all Christians are riding with you on that belief, my rabbi. But yeah.
And
what does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist. And
Yep, because somehow, some way, man, God just wrote down in the book and say, you know what, man, 1948, man, thus forward, everybody is supposed to protect Israel and serve Israel, and you'll be blessed for it. Somehow, some way, they just knew that in the Bible, huh?
It's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes,
it is.
And I'm really happy he said that, because when you hear it, you realize how ridiculous it sounds. Even if you're not following the theology, if you don't identify as a Christian, you realize that you have a senator that is sitting across saying that his number one reason, he didn't say one of the reasons, he said my number one reason that I support Israel is because the Bible commands me to do so. And just so you know, the Bible does not command, and this is what Tucker Carlson is getting to in that clip, it absolutely does not command you to support the modern state of Israel. Like Genesis is pointing to the modern 1948 created state of Israel, and you must support it, despite the fact that it is very much involved in what can only be described as demonic behavior since its creation, right? And so you're going to ignore every other biblical passage. You're going to misinterpret this one. It's a dispensationalist heresy, which was factually funded by the World Zionist Congress. And we can do another episode on that as I present to you guys all of the evidence that what it guided the notations. This really stems from the Schofield Bible and was overseas and alleges that he wrote all of these notes in the Bible and is telling people how to read their Bibles. The first time that notations were put underneath the passages. So this is what Genesis says, and this is what it means. And this is how this heresy arrived in America. Then somehow this guy is able to, becomes the most printed book, and Oxford Press gets behind it because like a random pastor, you get the idea here. It was very much a funded effort to have Christians misunderstand the Bible. And Ted Cruz is one of these Christians. And so he says this is number one reason that he supports what they're doing. So he is willing to support the criminality of Benjamin Netanyahu because he's just in the land of Israel. That's he's saying it's the nation state of Israel. By that argument, if suddenly the current Israelis in Israel all left and we put in a bunch of Iranians, then he would say the same thing because it's a place, right? So Ted Cruz would say, my Bible commands me, I will be blessed if I bless those who bless Israel. He's talking about a place, a physical place, and anybody could be in there and he would back it. It's an absolute nonsense for him to suggest this. And like I said, it's also a theological disaster, and it's so important for people to learn the history, the truth.
I mean, Israel could have been in Madagascar. He'd have still said that.
History of the Schofield Bible and this sort of modern dispensationalist belief, which has been so toxic to our foreign policy and has been pushed in large part. It's even the hyphening of Judeo-Christian values. I'm a Christian. I'm not Jewish. I am a Christian. My values are Christian. And frankly, you should believe that a country which has involved itself as Israel has in blackmail, in murder, in bombing children, in murdering and starving women and children to get what it wants, the deception. And I mean, you could talk about it on a widespread level. You could talk about it on a historical level. You could talk about it on a molecular or a personal level. It is like a requirement to support Zionism. You just have to lie. You have to lie like all the time. I mean, they are just every day pushing this idea that I'm funded by Qatar. Not a shred of proof. It's completely false. It is untrue. And they say it every day because they have no other arguments. All they have to do is keep hoping that people like Senator Ted Cruz, especially if they're being funded by AIPAC, will completely misinterpret the Genesis and believe that no matter what, they have to support the policies of Bibi Netanyahu, which not even the Israelis support, right? They don't even support him. They were protesting against him in wartime. So that's very, it should terrify you, frankly. It should terrify you. It's also ironic that we are told that Iran, they can have nukes because they're a bunch of rabid fundamentalists, right? Religious fanatics. And at the same time, you are saying that Israel doesn't have to abide by international law. They don't have to even speak or acknowledge the fact that they have nukes. It's okay that they stole that from America. They stole weapons from America. It's okay that Jeffrey Epstein is running a blackmail ring on our politicians, was running a sexual blackmail ring via the Mossad. It's okay. And they don't have to answer questions about JFK and Jack Ruby, otherwise known as Jacob Rubenstein, and his involvement. We just have to accept that whatever they do, no matter how toxic and horrible and demonic it is, it's perfectly acceptable because God is going to bless you.
Because of Israel. Like, hey, man, you go ahead and let hell of children and women get killed. It's all right, man. Look, as long as for Israel, God gonna bless you. I mean, bro, you can go ahead and let this country break laws and I mean, war laws, nuclear laws, all that. You can let them do anything. You want to know why? Because you're protecting Israel. So what? God's gonna bless you, right? Because that's some flawed ass thinking right there. Sweet Jesus, man. That's wild. But all right, now let's get into Redacted. Probably going to close out on this one, guys. Appreciate the support, guys. Make sure you double tap that screen. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, go ahead and send it in the super chat. I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it, guys. Appreciate the support. All right, guys, let's keep it going.
Russia realistically do about this war between Iran and Israel and the United States on the Israeli side? Well, according to our next guest, Gilbert Doctorow, the answer is nothing. No rescue is coming from Moscow or Beijing, and a U.S.-Israeli victory is not just likely, it is strategically disastrous. Far from restoring order, he says it will shatter what little regional...
Oh, I appreciate it, Steph. Happy Juneteenth, Mr. Set. Hey, I appreciate that. Shout out. Oh, happy Juneteenth. Oh, it is the 19th, is it? Crazy. Juneteenth, the new holiday. When was this invented, like 2 years ago or something?
Stability remains and corner Russia geopolitically. The only unpredictable factor left on the chessboard is Pakistan, which is a bleak forecast, but one we'd be foolish to ignore. It also allows North Korea to strongly align with Russia, which has already happened, and most of us has missed it.
The most important thing. Oh, guys, come on now. There's no hate towards Israel. We just do not like the way the Benjamin Netanyahu is kind of running us into these conflicts as he has been doing for the past 20 years. That's all, okay? It ain't no hate but for Jews, no hate for Israelis. It's just all the criticism in the world for this man, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his cabinet. Just like, you know, how the libs have all the criticism in the world for Trump and every member in his cabinet. It's the same thing, except with less hatred.
Thing that you can do to protect your family today is to protect them from cyber criminals and online predators. I mean, it is disgusting, this new era that we're living in. And there's one app that does it all. It's called Bunker. Created a vault that will secure documents, wills, trust, and redacted for 25.
They're an expert on the
off your family plan.
Here we go.
Gilbert Doctorow is a foreign policy author and expert on the Russian-U.S. relations. We've been speaking to him since the war in Ukraine, and he's been pretty much right about all of it. Right. He has a new book out called War Diaries about the war in Russia between the first 2 years. So he joins us today. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Good to see you, Doctor.
Well, very good to be back with you.
Okay, so you argue that Russia will not intervene to support Iran militarily. What do you believe? Why would the Kremlin sit this one out? And is that a strategic decision or a sign of restraint?
I think it is a clear understanding that the situation is not as dire as many of the hyperventilating commentators, particularly on a variety of Indian stations like the Times of India that take up space on the international section of YouTube. If you listen to them, the end of the world is coming next week. The reality is that the Israelis are running out of supplies for their dome. They're out of supplies for their air defense. They have maybe 7 to 10 days more of these missiles that they're using to protect themselves. And so it's hard to see that this war will go on beyond that date. For that reason alone, I think there are people in the Kremlin who understand that there is no reason to rush to Iran's aid assistance. The positioning, the posturing, I should say, of Mr. Trump is typical of him. He speaks very loudly, he catches attention. He did in his first term to send those aircraft carriers to just off the North Korean coast. And what came out of that, what followed? Nothing whatever. So it is today. The idea that the United States is providing substantial assistance to Israel in capturing and shooting down the various missiles and drones that Iran is sending to Israel is only partly true. The United States doesn't have the capacity, as no one has the capacity, to stop hypersonic missiles, for example,
right?
Which is precisely what Iran started using in the last couple of days. So I would calm down. The length, the duration of this war is certainly limited by Israel's ability to keep on shooting down incoming projectiles. And that is like a week to 10 days. So I don't think we have the end of the world in front of us.
What if the United States involves itself with aircraft
Oh, and shout out to my man Giovanni George. Hey, appreciate the support, man. He said sent the flower. Hey, appreciate that for 30 jewels.
Carriers and additional THAAD systems being able to shoot.
I mean, shout out to the whole gift system. It's like a cheaper way to send it. It's like a cheaper way to support guys. You feel me? Shout out to the gifts.
Down and aid in this process. If Israel's Iron Dome runs out, they're already not able to stop hypersonic missiles as it is with the Iron Dome technology. Will the United States really step in here to aid this, and then will we see a protracted war as a result of this?
Again, let's step back for a moment. What the mission of Israel has been with American support. The primary mission has been to destroy Iran's nuclear program. So far, they have done damage, but they certainly haven't destroyed it. And there are these impenetrable underground or mountainside nuclear units that Iran has, which only American munitions would have a chance to destroy. Now, the United States has not yet committed itself to.
Hey, and shout out Sandra for becoming a member. Hey, appreciate the support, sis. Hey, appreciate it. And make sure to send me an email and to get the invite link to the Discord. Appreciate the support.
To sending in B-2 bombers to deliver those wonderful bombs. And I rather suspect they won't. Mr. Trump likes to stir the water, likes to get a lot of attention and hope to threaten people and force them to do deals on his terms. That just
Giovanni's a female. Oh, I'm sorry, sis. My bad. Oh yeah, shout out Giovanni. Appreciate it, sis. My bad.
not seem to succeed too often, and I'm very doubtful he will succeed in this case. But the Iranian forces are not just their own; they're also their allied militias in places like Iraq, which can threaten, which can destroy, in fact, American bases in the region. And for that reason, Mr. Trump will tread very carefully. Again, he's making a lot of noise, but to actually place those 40,000 American soldiers and officers in the region in harm's way, I think would be very, very risky. And certainly there are people in Congress who are telling him that right now.
Now, you say that the one wild card here is Pakistan, that Russia won't get involved, but Pakistan very well could. And if they did, it would be to defend Iran. Can you tell us what the global consequences of that would be, and if you see that as a deterrent or an accelerant?
Well, I don't think it's an abstract consideration. If you know Mr. Trump's schedule today, he received an envoy from Pakistan. And while the BBC and other major media were talking about this as having some relation to the recent armed conflict between India and Pakistan, I think it is more reasonable to assume that Mr. Trump and his assistants were interested in talking to the Pakistanis following their very noisy. And
if Pakistan tries to get involved, trust me, they'll stop it. If Pakistan actually tried to get involved, I think that'll be the time where Trump is just like, you know what, this is turning into a war, literally trying to turn into a world war. Yeah, let's just confirm that we will not escalate at that point. At that point, I think they'd literally be trying to force both Israel and Iran to the table. Like, all right, now we got to really think of something, because if Pakistan jump in, then China might jump in, then India gonna jump in, and then it's gonna be a mess.
Angry statements in the United Nations about the war of aggression of Israel and how Pakistan wanted to do something about it. So it's not just my conjecture that Pakistan stands ready to virtually destroy Israel with nuclear missiles, which it has. But I think that was the subject of Mr. Trump's discussions with the Pakistani envoy today.
Gosh, I think people missed that. That's quite possible.
You studied this deeply. You heard President Putin today saying that the United States should not interject itself in this. That would be really a huge mistake. So what will Russia do? I think one of the big wild cards here is, what will China, what will Russia do if the United States fully involves itself in attacking Iran? If the United States decides to hit the Fordo nuclear power plant, President Trump says, we're the only ones that can do it. We're the only ones that can have this attack. What will Russia do in response, do you think?
Again, let's take a step back. Destroying the Iranian nuclear program is not the same as destroying Iran. They have said since 2003 that they have no intention of building a bomb. The American intelligence agencies all have been in agreement with that. As recently as I think it was March appearance before Congress, Tulsi Gabbard said the same thing. So the most horrible thing that American intervention could do, if we read the script that Mr. Trump has been reading from, is to impair, damage, or destroy major assets in the civil nuclear program of Iran. None of that is the same as regime change or destroying the Iranian nation. So this is not an existential crisis here. That being said,
all right, now let's get into our man, because that guy's a bit dry. But let's get into our man. What was it? Owen Schroeder from InfoWars, one of my favorite country guys.
All right, it's amazing to me that nobody is saying this. I'm not surprised that you're not hearing it in the mainstream Western media, but I don't know why nobody's saying this. Now, I'm not Jewish, okay? But I do have Jewish friends, but that's not really what this is about. I care about people. That's what I care about. I care about people. And nobody seems to want to mention the fact that Israelis are stuck in bunkers almost every night in parts of Israel. Jobs are being...
Hey, and shout out to Giovanni. She also joined as well. Hey, welcome to the fam, sis. And great. Now you're making more people for the She Show. Yes, we have a women's only Discord. We make sure we give y'all special access to it, so y'all have that privacy. So, shout out to the women in the Discord. Shout out to you guys.
Being shut down, the economy closed, schools closed. Okay, now this is because of Benjamin Netanyahu. Do not be confused. Do not be confused. So here's the message that people need to understand. If you care about Israel, and its existence and its relationship to the United States of America, you better realize something fast. You better stop listening to people like Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and Benjamin Netanyahu. If you continue to be led down this path by those three individuals and their ilk, within 20 years, Israel will get no support from the United States of America, and Israel will be, dare I say, hated.
All right, hold on, man. Breaking news. Well, actually not really breaking. I did mention this, but I didn't know they were actually going to confirm it, because yes, a hospital has been hit in Israel. And the reason Iran said that they hit the hospital is because it has a military arsenal underneath it. So this is what Iran says that Israel has right here. Look at this shit. This is what Iran and Israel have having. And this is the reason why they struck Israel's hospital, which we're about to see news coverage on. But yes, Israel hospital has been struck by an Iranian missile. And this is why they did it. Now, this is true. It better not be. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit too childish with the music, but yeah, this is what they allege that Israel has underneath, and this is the news coverage. All right, let's get into it.
Israeli leaders coming out in condemnation against these latest attacks by Iran, particularly that attack on the hospital. What else have we heard from the Israeli leadership this morning?
Well, we've heard all sorts of statements of condemnations from political figures. Naturally, the targeting of hospitals is, of course, a war crime that is.
Bruh. Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. No, not anymore. Not according to Israel. Nah. I ain't trying to hear that no more. No, the hypocrisy. I just can't stand for it, guys. It's killing me. It's really hurting my soul right now. I can't even. I'm just gonna let it go. That she got it.
Targeting of hospitals is, of course, a war crime that Israel has been committing systematically. But at this time, the damage sustained to the Soroka hospital is being described as the crossing of a red line by many Israeli politicians. Let me read you what the defense minister in Israel has said, in addition to, of course, saying that the regime in Iran is monstrous and so on. He basically said that the Khamenei, the supreme leader, will not be immune, and that Israel will take all measures to hold the regime accountable. He even referenced
What, bro? Hey, yo. I mean, Israel can bomb hospitals and it ain't a war crime. Iran do it and it's a war crime. And guess what? I believe that it's a war crime. Trust me, bombing a hospital is a war crime. But it's wild how, oh, please, Israel, please, my pro-Israel guys, I better not hear this tomorrow. I better not hear about, oh, they're attacking hospitals. This is a war crime. I promise to God I'm going to cuss each and every one of you guys out. I promise I will. Because there's no way. No, you have nothing to stand on. You attack Palestinian hospitals, all of them. They attack your hospital. I hate that for the Israeli people, but I hope that they're not going to sit here and finally recognize that as a war crime.
The idea of toppling the regime. We heard similar comments from even opposition figures like Avigdor Lieberman. The Israeli prime minister said Iran will pay a heavy price. Of course, again, we don't know all of the information about all of the sites, but the damage sustained to Soroka Hospital is being capitalized on, if you will, by Israeli politicians who understand the psychological impact of the pictures emerging from Soroka on the Israeli public and understand the need to react to it forcefully.
Yeah, so a whole hospital was hit in Israel. And these first thing they say is hitting hospitals a war crime. Really? Well, I don't know. When you accuse Hamas of doing it, it's crazy because breaking blueprint exposed Israel stores tanks and military assets in underground command center under hospitals. Like I said, let's look at it one more time. Just because of the music, really. I mean, yeah, ain't that crazy? I mean, shoot, they can bomb hospitals, but nobody else can. Wild. Oh, man, wild times we live in, right, guys? Right? But, you know what? Let me see here.
The American intervention would almost certainly bring a dramatic response from the militias that are associated with Iran in the region, and attacks on American bases that would kill American soldiers. It's clear as day. All of that would come back and hit Mr. Trump because the actions he's considering have not been sanctioned by Congress, and he's not even looking for congressional approval. So it's all his own. All right.
All right, cool. I got time for Conspiracy Hour. Why not? Shout out to my man Ian Carroll, man. He's about to break down this whole situation for y'all. And I love his breakdowns, man. He got really good ones. And he's back on his own show because he was substituting for Candace for a while and he was killing it.
Well, Israel started war with Iran last week and then cried about the terror and injustice as Iran struck back. Iran is now worse than Hitler, as they are apparently just weeks away from obtaining nuclear weapons. Strangely, they have been on the verge of having nukes for several decades now, according to Israeli and American neocons. But Bibi finally has his war. American Jewish Zionists are screeching incoherent doublespeak about how it is in America's interest to join the war, and anyone who says otherwise is a Jew-hating Nazi. If you speak up loudly enough, you too can get a fun nickname, like the newly dubbed Chatsworth Catarlson. I mean, heaven forbid that Americans be concerned with America and disapprove of another Middle Eastern war on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein's employer. So I had been planning to come back over to my channel after a month covering for Candace's maternity leave and talk about fun, light conspiracies, like what's in your grocery store. But then the deep state just had to go and start World War III. So today, for my first episode back on my own channel, we're going to break down everything about the Israel-Iran war that the news isn't telling you, and that mainstream conservative Twitter analysts would rather ignore, and that Jewish Zionists will just screech anti-Semitism at you rather than form a coherent argument against. It's finally time to cancel Ian Carroll.
Conspiracy theories are dangerous. Information is the oxygen of a democracy.
It's so sick that we can't talk.
Pick some stuff from Candace.
So, last Thursday, Israel launched preemptive strikes on Iran, meaning they started a war. Yeah. They targeted their nuclear facilities, their military capabilities, and also every top official that was one day away from making progress in peace talks and diplomatic nuclear negotiations with the United States. Israeli and American deep state media and pundits flooded the airwaves with fear propaganda about how Iran was just months or even weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong headline. That one's from 1995, when I was just 3 years old. See, here we go. Iran is 1 or 2 weeks away from producing material for a nuclear weapon. Right, but this was a year ago, and Iran is still not producing the 90% enriched uranium that Blinken was talking about. But regardless, the current narrative is that after years of warnings and intelligence gathering, the Iranian regime has reached a point of no return in its quest for nuclear bombs. Now, it's important to note that this is based off of intelligence gathered by Israel, which has never led us astray before. Certainly never has misleading and outright false Israeli intelligence been used to drag the US into a disastrous Middle Eastern war before. I mean, this is, of course, despite the fact that just this year, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence and the head of the US intelligence community, clearly stated in her annual threat assessment that Iran is, quote, not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khomeini has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. But that doesn't stop Israeli conspiracy theorists from stating that the Iranian regime has been advancing a secret plan involving nuclear scientists working secretly to develop nuclear weapons. And I mean, Israel would know. They are virtually neighbors with Iran and have one of the world's most powerful intelligence agencies operating today, closely monitoring the situation, which is why Bibi gave this address to Congress about the matter.
There is no question whatsoever that Saddam is seeking and is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons.
Sorry, my bad. Wrong clip. That was Netanyahu telling us there was no question whatsoever that Saddam Hussein was developing nuclear weapons back in 2003. Obviously, that turned out to be an abject lie. I'm sure Bibi didn't know it was a lie, though. I'm sure he would never lie to get the U.S. into a Middle Eastern war to benefit Israeli interests, right? But anyways, here he is lecturing his AIPAC purchased Congress about Iran's nuclear threat.
I'm deeply humbled by the opportunity to speak for a third time before the most important legislative body in the world, the U.S. Congress.
You should be honored.
I deeply regret that some perceive my being here as political. That was never my intention. I've come here today because as Prime Minister of Israel, I feel a profound obligation to speak to you about an issue that could well threaten the survival of my country and the future of my people. While the final deal has not yet been signed, certain elements of any potential deal are now a matter of public record. You can Google it. This deal has two major concessions. One, leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program. And two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. A deal that's supposed to prevent nuclear proliferation would instead spark a nuclear arms race in the most dangerous part of the planet.
You get the idea. And if you didn't know, that was actually 10 years ago, in 2015. You see, Zionist warhawks have been plotting the destruction of Iran since they published the Clean Break Report, all the way back in 1996, detailing how in order to pursue peace in the Middle East, Israel just needed to go do a little bit of war with Iraq and Syria and Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. Well, Iran is the last one on the list, and now, 30 years, 3 government.
And I think I forgot the general's name, but I remember the general that was telling the story of, like when he was pretty much reading a report saying that we're going to war with Iran. Hold on, what you mean? And then later on, he's going and he sees a list of a whole bunch of Islamic countries that's supposed to be toppled within the next 5 to 10 years. And he's like, whoa, what's really going on? It's like, yeah. So this kind of lines up with what that general was saying back in the day, that all of a sudden America had the same initiative as Israel to just go to war with every Arab country, almost every Arab country in the Middle East.
Corruption trials, hundreds of thousands of Palestinian lives, and tens of billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars later, Benjamin Netanyahu is finally putting the finishing touches on the plan to secure the realm. But is Iran actually as close to a nuclear weapon as Netanyahu claims? Because when you actually look behind the salacious headlines and do a little research, it's not so clear. And just to be clear, I am no expert. I've never been to Iran. I'm not paid to have an opinion by the U.S. or the Israeli government. I'm not educated in deep state think tanks and never went to the island to diddle kids. So I'm really not that qualified to speak on the topic. But I figured I'd do a little reading and just see what my feeble American mind could come up with. Because Netanyahu is claiming that he had to act in order to preempt a secret Iranian program and that Tehran already had the capacity to build 9 nuclear bombs. But is it possible that he was preempting a diplomatic agreement between the U.S. and Iran? Or even just to further progress the war, to keep the spotlight off of his looming corruption trial and likely imprisonment the moment Israel is no longer at war? Because if you haven't seen the episode I did on Candace's channel about the Bibi files and his corruption trial, it's a must-watch for everyone, all around the world. I'll drop the link into the description below. You can check it out later. But aside from his corruption trial, the claim that Iran is about to have a nuclear weapon runs contrary to not only Tulsi Gabbard and the U.S. intel community's assessment, but also that of the UN and the International Atomic Energy Agency. Now, that's not to say that there's no reason for concern. Iran had stepped away from the negotiation table since Trump backed out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. In recent years, more radical figures in Iran's government have been more emboldened to call for a nuclear-armed Iran. The International Atomic Energy Agency released a report this week that said Iran has recently been failing to cooperate with complete inspections of its civilian nuclear program. It did not say that Iran was on the verge of a nuclear weapon. In fact, it concluded that it had, quote, no credible indications of an ongoing undeclared structured nuclear program. The statistic that has many the most concerned is Iran's stockpile of 60% enriched uranium. This is essentially a deterrent strategy on Iran's behalf. Obviously, it didn't turn out so well, but you get the point. To simplify it, is that
it was supposed to be a deterrent so people wouldn't, attack Iran because, they're oh so close to a bomb. But it ended up being the main reason they're attacking Iran because they're oh so close to a bomb. Man. Talk about having the adverse effect, huh? It's like taking Tylenol and then you get an even harder headache. It's like, oh, that's tough.
For civilian nuclear energy, you only need about 3% enriched uranium. Very little. To build a nuclear bomb, however, you need about 90% enriched uranium. Super pure. And so 90% enriched uranium is highly regulated and monitored. It's an extremely expensive and laborious process to create it. And so Iran has been stockpiling 60% enriched uranium for quite some time as a sort of threat that they could build a bomb if they feel threatened or have reason to. At least that's the idea. What Israel is claiming is that they have some secret program where they are finishing the enrichment and building a bomb. What the IAEA report says is that they see no evidence of that happening. And if Iran were to develop a nuclear weapon, that would be shitty. Iran is certainly not the kind of kid on the playground that you want walking around with the big red button. But it's important to put this in context. The playground that Iran is on.
Oh, yeah. I think she was talking about Steph. Oh, yeah. I think Giovanni was talking about the year Benjamin Netanyahu's video was played. Yeah, there was one in, well, the one he was talking about in 2015, where he came before Congress and said that Iran is ever so close to having a bomb. And we're still here.
Is the Middle East.
Oh, no. Oh, the general? Oh, no. That one was a while ago. Like, when I seen that recording, I'm trying to remember. That one was like way back in the day. I got to find that video.
They pose absolutely zero threat to America. A nuclear bomb requires a delivery method. You have to get it to your target before you can blow it up, obviously. With a nuke, that's usually a ballistic missile fired from the ground or a plane or a submarine. Iran's current range is limited to its neighborhood. China, Russia, Egypt, or India all might have some concern about Iranian nuclear capability. But beyond that, there is virtually no threat, at least not to America. One could argue that they would try to smuggle a suitcase nuke into the United States, but I would argue that I'm more concerned about another Middle Eastern country doing that. So, anyways, this map is critical to understanding calls for the U.S. to go to war in Iran. And all the fear-mongering about Iranian nuclear weapons right now, all the first Tel Aviv and then New York. Oh no! It's propaganda. Iran not only poses no threat to the United States, but it is also highly incentivized not to poke the United States and induce us into entering this war. If there's a terrorist attack on American soil that gets used to justify war in Iran, you can bet the farm that it's not Iran behind it. Yeah. Iran wants to fight Israel on its own. They aren't dumb. Israel is the country that wants America to enter the war that they started.
There we go.
So, it's a good thing that Israel has never taken part in any false flag attacks on American soil before. Otherwise, I would be a little worried that they might do that again. Because you see, Iran did go through a phase where it seemed to be working directly towards nuclear weapons, starting back in 1997. But by late 2003, after seeing what we had just done to Saddam for not even having nukes, they decided that they probably didn't want to get caught on the other end of that if they actually did have nukes. So they shut the program down, deactivated the facilities, and shipped all the material to storage. Israel was, of course, sure to warn us that Iran was just 5 years away from a bomb at the time. A bomb which now, 30 years later, has yet to.
All right, I found it. It was General Wesley Clark. That was his name. Here, I'm about to play the video for you guys. It was actually crazy. And I believe this was in right after, he said right after 9/11, but I think this was done maybe some years ago. This exact video.
About 10 days after right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail."
Well.
So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me.
It's too late.
And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry.
We pretty much, I showed you it on the friendly note, a classified document that pretty much just laid out, well, pretty much the exact plan that Israel had for us. That is crazy.
Sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again.
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran. So when you look at Iran, you say, is it a replay? It's not exactly a replay, but here's the truth, that Iran from the beginning has seen that the presence of the United States in Iraq was a threat. A blessing, because we took out Saddam Hussein and the Baathists. They couldn't handle them. We took care of it for them. But also a threat because they knew that they were next on the hit list. And so, of course, they got engaged. They lost 1 million people during the war with Iraq. And they've got a long and unprotectable, unsecurable border. So it was in their vital interest to be deeply involved inside Iraq. They tolerated our attacks on the Baathists. They were happy we captured Saddam Hussein, but they're building up their own network of influence, and to cement it, they occasionally give some military assistance and training and advice, either directly or indirectly, to both the insurgents and to the militias. And in that sense, it's not exactly parallel, because there has been, I believe, continuous Iranian engagement. Some of it legitimate, some of it illegitimate. I mean, you can hardly fault Iran because they're offering to do eye operations for Iraqis who need medical attention. That's not an offense that you can go to war over, perhaps, but it is an effort to gain influence. And the administration has stubbornly refused to talk with Iran about their perception, in part because they don't want to pay the price with their our U.S. domestic political base, the right-wing base, but also because they don't want to legitimate a government that they've been trying to overthrow. If you were Iran, you'd probably believe that you were mostly already at war with the United States anyway, since we've asserted that their government needs regime change. So, and we've asked Congress to appropriate.
Damn, let's be real. He has a point. If we've been talking about this for years, damn, you kind of get the rhetoric towards us. It's like, dog, you've been talking about overthrowing us for how long? Like, why wouldn't it be death to America? Not saying it's like I like them saying it, but I get it.
$75 million to do it, and we are supporting terrorist groups, apparently, who are infiltrating and blowing up things inside Iran. And if we're not doing it, let's put it this way, we're probably cognizant of it and encouraging it. So it's not surprising that we're moving to a point of confrontation.
It's like we encourage Israel to bomb Iran, or I guess we kind of let them.
Crisis with Iran. My point on this is not that the Iranians are good guys, they're not, but that you shouldn't use force except as a last resort. There is a military option, but it's a bad one.
I wanted to get your response to Seymour Hersh's piece in The New Yorker to two key points this week. Reporting the Pentagon's established a special planning group within the Office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a bombing attack on Iran. That this is coming as the Bush administration and Saudi Arabia are pumping money for covert operations into many areas of the Middle East, including Lebanon, Syria, and Iran, in an effort to strengthen Saudi-supported Sunni Islam groups and weaken Iranian-backed Shias. Some of the covert money has been given to jihadist groups in Lebanon with ties to al-Qaeda. Fighting the Shias by funding with Prince Bandar and then with U.S. money not approved by Congress, funding the Sunnis connected to al-Qaeda.
Well, I don't have any direct information to confirm it or deny it. It's certainly plausible. The Saudis have taken a more active role you know, the Saudis.
You were just
have,
in Saudi Arabia.
Hmm?
You just came back from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, the Saudis have basically recognized that they have an enormous stake in the outcome in Iraq, and they don't particularly trust the judgment of the United States in this area. We haven't exactly proved our competence in Iraq. So they're trying to take matters into their own hands. The real danger is, and one of the reasons this is so complicated, is because let's say we did.
I said, okay, well, we did change that. The Saudis are now rocking with us now.
All of the desires of some people who say, just pull out and pull out now. Well, yeah, we could mechanically do that. It would be ugly, and it might take 3 or 4 months, but you could line up the battalions on the road one by one, and you could put the gunners in the Humvees and load and cock their weapons and shoot their way out of Iraq. You'd have a few roadside bombs, but if you line everybody up, there won't be any roadside bombs, maybe some sniping. You can fly helicopters over, do your air cover, you probably get safely out of there. But when you leave, the Saudis have got to find someone to fight the Shias. Who are they going to find? Al-Qaeda. Because the groups of Sunnis who would be extremists and willing to fight would probably be the groups connected to Al-Qaeda. So one of the weird inconsistencies in this is that were we to get out early, we'd be intensifying the threat against us of a super powerful Sunni extremist group, which was now legitimated by overt Saudi funding in an effort to hang on to a toehold inside Iraq and block.
Well, I mean, what I told you exactly. Like Israel came out with that list of countries they wanted to topple, and that man got the list coming down from the top. And he said they got that list from the Secretary of Defense, which would pretty much be like, our peak Hegseth
to materialize. Lately, this image documenting all of Netanyahu's alleged claims about Iran's imminent nuclear bomb has been floating around Twitter. It's nothing new. And as you may be wondering, how can we just trust some random Twitter graphic with wild claims like this? You're correct. You should not trust random Twitter graphics. You should do your own research and verify. So I'll get you started with the first one. In 1992, Benjamin Netanyahu published a column in Israeli newspaper Yedioth Aharonoth, which, also, side note, just so happens to be the same newspaper that he stands accused of trading political favors with in exchange for positive media coverage, an offense that could and should land him in prison when he's convicted. But anyways, the headline in Ynet News is a bit confusing because Netanyahu published this column in 1992 and then went on to repeat his claims in 1993 that Iran would have the bomb by 1999, which is now 26 years ago. He's repeated that claim again and again ever since, whenever it's convenient. Iran is an extremist genocidal regime that must not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons at any cost. And, yeah, sure. But the absolute ass-backwards tragic irony of this whole situation is that Israel, currently run by Jewish supremacists and terrorists like Smotrich and Ben Gvir, the nation that is conducting a literal genocide right
now. These two their rhetoric is wild. Bro, they asked him about the murder of the Palestinians, Israeli media, and he said, oh, you guys care about the Palestinians, you do not care about the Jews. All you do is hate Jews. You should be ashamed of yourself. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like this guy right here, like complete savage. I mean, this guy over here, he just says straight up. I mean, he's a straight up old school terrorist, like used to be terrorist turned politician. I mean, wild.
Smotrich and Ben Gvir, the nation that is conducting a literal genocide right now on live TV and did this to civilians trapped in Gaza, they are the ones that have a secret stolen nuclear arsenal. Israel has an extensive nuclear weapons program that they refuse to acknowledge, that they stole from the United States, and they're the ones screeching about genocidal regimes having secret nuclear programs. Man. So here's a clip making the rounds right now to help give you a sense for the Israeli position on the matter.
How many nuclear weapons does Iran have as of today?
Right now, I hope none.
Okay, how many does Israel have?
No idea.
No idea? You were in the government. They don't tell you that stuff.
No idea.
Who do they tell?
No idea.
Do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course.
And you sit here as a former minister of the Israeli government saying, I don't know, never talked about nuclear with anyone.
Because there was like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there is against Israel. And there is against Israel as well.
About
your nuclear
issues?
program.
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because
that smile really says it all. As you can see,
he's about to answer. He's about to answer because like you're supposed to say because we don't have one. Like, what you mean? We don't got nothing.
See, Israeli spokesmen don't really like to talk about it because there's just no way to defend it, even if they wanted to. But they're not allowed to because Israel's nuclear program officially doesn't exist. So here's an even more awkward clip to help fill out the point.
Why should the world tolerate you having nuclear weapons and not, say, Iran?
First, again, we never admitted to have such weapons. But the very comparison is, I must say, it's very insulting, and I tell you why. We suffered one Holocaust. We listened to our neighbors.
Is it because of the Holocaust
right
that you should be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
You know what? This interview was finished now. Your
Shut it
attitude is so
down.
hostile.
Just shut it down. Shut it down. Just shut it right down. That was so disrespectful for him to even make the comparison, to even ask the question. He like blood libeled him right there on the spot. Yeah, you heard that correctly. You are apparently a blood libeling anti-Semite if you want to talk about Israel's nuclear program, which the whole world knows about.
But all right, guys, I'm going over time on this one. And hey, yo, shout out to Monty in the background. But sadly, I am closing down for the night. Actually, shoot. Shout out Monty. Shoot, you got anything to say?
Oh, no. I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, all right. All right, that's what's up. Well, anyway, though, I was about to close out for the night on this one, man. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, guys, this has been Set with Set Media. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys double tap that screen, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that bell notification so you get that notification when I go live or drop a video. All right, guys, you guys have a good night, and we'll go ahead and end on a word from guys. Today, modern AI is quite advanced, except two problems. It is censored and it takes your information. Well, it's hard to find a tech company that don't. But let me introduce you to one. Shout out to my sponsor, Venice AI, which allows you to protect your information and avoid censorship. Now ask yourself, why should a team of programmers at these leading AI apps be the ones to decide what is okay for you to ask and think? Also, would you be comfortable if the presidential administration could govern what AI tells you? Man, I know I wouldn't. But also, while you think about that, did you know that? Let me tell you this, it's gonna be crazy, but ChatGPT has a former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now, guys. And shout out to that man, Edward Snowden. He called this a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. And we all know how Alexa is. Alexa listens to us and recommends products based on our conversations. I mean, talk about a violation of privacy. But guys, these are just a few reasons I decided to team up with Venice AI and get you a better options or solutions to your AI needs. Now, guys, you can go ahead and check these guys out with my promo code. So shout out to Venice AI. Now, if you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, Venice AI SET, and use the code SET. Man, so shout out, guys. So make sure you guys use the code. Put it up one more time for you guys right there. Once again, guys, if you guys want to go ahead and have unleashed AI, uncensored AI, go ahead and tap in with my guys at Venice AI, guys. Hey, this is SET and appreciate the support. And shout out to the sponsor.